Okay, very good morning to everyone present here. It's currently here 6 degrees centigrade temperature called here, and I'm preparing for NEET PG, which is to be conducted on 18th of April, and I have a target of completing my syllabus. Yes, I have some topics, actually many topics pending which I have not read even once, and secondly, within these 30 days of challenge I have to revise the things. So that's little crazy schedule I have with me, but definitely if I am thinking, I can think of it, I can do about it, and just it's all about the how well we execute, right? So I don't want to waste much of time in talking. Basically we will make some separate videos regarding what how these notes are and all that thing, which these are my handwritten notes only. So here it's an ops, I'm studying ops right now and revising basically, and still I don't feel it very confident. So we will be having a little overview, some 5 minutes overview about the molar pregnancy, right? So basically this is a placental disorder, and it's a gestational disease, right? And we have, this is a gestation trophoblastic disease. So first of all we have to just when I'm opening this molar pregnancy, then I really need to know about two things. One is neoplasia. One side we have neoplasia, another side we have a disease, right? Neoplasia is some cancerous malignant problem, and this is basically a disease. So disease is little fine, neoplasia will be little dangerous, right? So here we have the partial mole and the complete mole, and in the neoplasia we'll have the invasive mole, we'll have choriocarcinoma, we'll have the placental site trophoblastic tumor, and also we'll have the epithelial trophoblastic tumors. So some tumors where you will have some carcinomas, and somewhere we will have a name hint is there, that is invasive, and if something is invasive, that's basically is carcinomas. Next is molar pregnancy and molar disease and the rest of the things. So जो molar disease है, in that what we are including the partial mole, will include the complete moles, and will also include the invasive moles, and दूसरी side and other side we have the whatever is left, like choriocarcinoma, the placental site trophoblastic tumors, or the epithelial tumor trophoblastic tumors. So that's all about it. And one more important point which we have to note over here, that is on histopathological examination, the chorionic villi will be present in the molar diseases, but it will be absent in this rest of the disease, right? Now coming to the H-mole, some basic things which we just have to keep in mind. Basically it is a benign disease which also have a malignant potential, and it's most common in developing countries. And definitely we always know कि in the case of obs and gynae we need to keep some age factors in mind. If it's just factual things, if it is more than more than 35 years of age, then it's 2 times chance, and more than 40 years 40 chances. Just MCQ won't be asked in this way. And some dietary factors and some other factors like AB blood groups and smoking and all those things. So yeah, that is about it. So another thing which we basically know is in the partial mole, the little bit some fetal parts will be present. In the complete moles there will be no fetal part, everything is just wasted thing. And next hydropic degeneration will be present in this disease, right? And all right, so then we have to check some SG levels on this. So we'll check the beta SG levels, and definitely it's trophoblastic disease. There will be more proliferation, there will be more villi, and hormones release is a function of trophoblast, and SCG's levels will be very high, and therefore the fundus height will be more, uterus height will be more than the gestational age. And what else? Beta SCG levels are increased, and theca luteal cyst will be formed, and this is also going to cause the hyperemesis gravidarum because of increased SCG levels. And also it has a resemblance with the TSH, that's thyroid stimulating hormone, so therefore the thyrotoxicosis can also happen, and cyst will be also produced. Now what is basically the pathology behind the partial mole and the complete mole? So first of all, partial mole, we'll just remember it's a triploid thing, and the complete mole is a diploid. In the complete mole there won't be any ova kind of thing, means nothing is coming from ova is empty. So it's basically the paternal spermatic genetic material which is getting doubled, and that's what it is. So therefore they says that entire genetic material in the complete mole is androgenic, and in the case of the partial mole, both contribution will be there from the mother, and there will be contributions from both the mother side and the father side. So but the thing which we need to remember in the partial mole is extra genetic materials, it will be from the paternal side. Now coming next is some more differences. So in the case of partial moles, the degeneration will be less, so that is hydropic degeneration will be less, in that it's more. So basically we need to just remember one thing in mind, that in the case of the complete mole, it will be a dangerous things will be more, fetal movements will be less. In the complete mole means there will be no fetal movements because there is no fetal portion over there. And in the case of the partial mole, definitely the fetal movements will be there, but not proper fetal movements, because not a proper pregnancy, it will be some fetal parts will be present over there. That's all about it. Now coming to some symptoms that women will be coming, and she will be having a vaginal bleedings, and she will also say that she has some grape-like vesicles she can see. And other symptoms like PIH or hyperemesis gravidarum, thyrotoxicosis, respiratory distress, embolizations, trophoblastic tissues, all these things, these will be more bigger dangerous disease, and that is the complete mole. And then some levels, factual things again. So in the partial moles, beta Hg levels will be more than 1 lakh international units per liter. And in the case of the complete moles, in the case of partial, it's gonna be less than 10^5, and in the case of the complete, it will be more than equals to 10^5. So up to till now, we have just learned some basic facts. We started with disease and neoplasm. What is the difference between them, and what diseases are there, and what neoplastic conditions are there. After that, we got an idea, alright, what is basically pathophysiology. It's about the sperm thing, about the ova thing, it's about the triploid, it's about the diploid conditions. That's very clear. And some fetal movements and all these parts we need to learn. That's about it. And beta Hg levels, which we will of course go for, and what you see in the beta Hg levels, that's what you have learned. And then beta Hg levels values we have learned. And now we learn that investigation choice in molar pregnancy definitely is ultrasonography, and it is or we can go for the transvaginal sonography also. Now so role of the HCGs in the molar pregnancy. Right, so we'll use it for the follow-up thing, right? When we follow up the patient, we'll check the HCG levels. And some again factual conditions. If the female is coming to us, we'll go for investigation of choice, that is transvaginal sonography. And if she comes with the for the molar pregnancy follow-up, then of course the levels of HCGs will go for. And gold standard will be histopathological examination. And then about the luteal cyst, it will be absence in the partial, and it's going to be present in the complete mole. And neoplasia, turning into neoplasia in the case of partial will be less, like we just remember the magical number 5, like somewhere like 5 or 3%, and there it is multiple, that is 15 to 20%. And chances to convert it into a choriocarcinoma will be less than 1% in the partial, and it will be by 4%. And something which is of more importance, which we are learning, immunoscreening. So it is P57 KIP2 because it's a maternal gene, so that's what we'll be finding, and there will be nothing like immunoscreening in the case of the complete mole because it's an empty ova. The most important part, it's basically some stuff which is inside, and we need to wash it out, we need to take it out, and therefore we'll go for suction evacuation. That's what we are going to do. And then we'll also send for the tissue for HPE because we just want to know if it has any malignant potential, and we can then use that biopsy's result. We'll use that results of HPE for any further evaluation, prognosis, and all those things. Other important things what we have to do is oxytocin drip should be started before evacuation, as it can lead to embolization. So we need we don't use oxytocin basically. You have to memorize it. And then cannula size is 12 to 20 and 10 to 12. And in the case if she is RH negative female, then we have to give anti-D. That is just we always know. And the management of we need not manage the luteal cyst. We need not manage, they will regress itself, and it's in contrary to the endometrial in contrast to the chocolate cyst, where you will go for even laparoscopic removal of this cyst, right? Now where we'll do hysterectomy, there is this very just common sense thing. If the female is more than equals to 40 years, her family is complete, or it's uncontrolled hemorrhages, there you can't do anything, you have to go for the hysterectomy. We are doing suction evacuation, and you ended up having lots and lots of bloodshed, uncontrollable hemorrhage. And if it is invasive moles, and they will go for the we'll go for hysterectomy. And yeah, so after suction evacuation and after hysterectomy, we'll follow up the patient with HCG levels. And this is a very, very important thing now. What we'll do, how we'll follow? We'll follow by It's done by measuring a beta hCG level. So first of all, we have to measure it weekly. Then you will get a 3 consecutive normal values, and that's it. You need not do anything, and you are now a little bit relaxed. But still, we will do it follow up further for 6 months, and that will be now monthly. So first of all, you did it weekly, and then you got some perfect 3 normal consecutive normal values of this beta hCGs, and then you will continue for next 6 months. That is why doing it monthly. And pregnancy will not continue for next 6 months. She can't get pregnant, and after evacuation of hormones, she can't get pregnant for next 6 months. And contraceptions she can use is oral contraceptive drugs, that is OCPs, she can use. And in the case of partial moles, the levels will come back in the 7 magic number 7 and 9 plus 2 is 9. So partial moles is 7 weeks and complete moles is 9 weeks. Next is prophylactic chemotherapy. Alright, so we'll also give some prophylactic chemotherapy. Basically, it's not given to all the patients after evacuations, and we are giving to some high risk patients. And who are the high risk patients? Whose age is more than equals to 40, whose hCG levels are 10⁵. Basically, it's a criteria for women molar hCG levels more than equals to 10⁵, and she has a large uterine size. And there are also thecal uteruses, but they are now bilateral, number 1, and number 2 is they are more than equal to 6 centimeters. And therefore okay, and in the prophylactic chemotherapy of the choice will be methotrexate. Right, in that topic also we were using methotrexate 50 some units will be there. So yeah, methotrexate we were using, and here is also drug of choice methotrexate. And if the patient has some jaundice, then we'll give her actinomycin D also. So that's all about the molar pregnancy, and yeah, that's what is going on. I'm gonna even revise it again and again, and I'll be revising it after some time, not today, after some days. And because these things have to be on tips, and I believe if your theory is strong, your concepts are strong, you can crack exam very easily. So yeah, that's it for today, and all the very best. Thank you.